Hey guys, my name is Nick and welcome to Watch This Now. Happy Friday the 13th to you folks. The Hunt is a dark comedy about a group of seemingly right-leaning working class people who are kidnapped by a group of leftist elitists and brought to a wilderness estate where the lefties hunt the righties in order to punish them for their political ideology. Basically, it's the most dangerous game for the Trump era, with characters on each side parroting talking points we see in all of the message boards as they are picking each other off until the last body falls. I already made a video about the controversy surrounding this film, so I invite you to go check that out, because in that video, I spoke about how I thought it was a good idea, ethically, morally, business-wise, for them to move the release date of this film until now, but now that I've seen it, I have to say, I think it would have been better off sticking with that original release date, because the most that this movie has going for it is trying to catch that cultural moment, because honestly, on its own, it really does not warrant the hype, but it is not as bad as the last Blumhouse horror film released on Friday the 13th, but we don't talk about that. I've always loved the concept behind The Most Dangerous Game ever since I read a condensed version of it in school as a kid. The idea of people hunting other people, well, that's universally disturbing, and it makes sense that Blumhouse would do a modern update, a politically charged thriller version of this concept, because that's what they do. But the problem with this movie is that it acts like it's telling a story from a bird's eye view of both parties, when in reality it kind of feels like a food fight of talking points from each side thrown at one another without the film actually saying something poignant on its own. Let's talk about what's good in this movie, because Betty Gilpin is in it, and she is fantastic. I love Betty Gilpin, and this is the role that really should get her the attention that she deserves. I mean, she is awesome in the action scenes, she is very comedic, she's very serious. I mean, she's really just on point throughout this movie, and she's really the only character that you have to connect with, so once she enters the film, she owns it. I really hope she becomes like a Marvel superhero or something after this, because Glow is coming to an end, and Betty Gilpin is just fucking phenomenal. She is so good in this movie. If I was to say one reason why you should see this movie, it's for Betty Gilpin. But Hilary Swank is also in this movie and does a pretty good job with her role, because she's, oddly enough, the main villain of this movie, and I was like, really? Hilary Swank looks like she could be taken out with one hit. But she really sells it in this movie, especially once we get towards the end and she has to get quite vicious. I mean, it's like, what is this two-time Academy Award-winning actress doing in this low-budget, horrible horror film? Well, she still kills it! Wait, no pun intended. Honestly, this movie doesn't have a whole lot to offer. As I've already stated, it's basically talking points the movie. And while you might expect some sort of action thriller, working class versus elitist, bloody, violent movie, it really doesn't actually give you that. It's maybe an ultra-violent Hunger Games for like 20 minutes, but then it shifts gears into something more conversational, even though it thinks it's being philosophical, which ultimately helps the movie land flat on its face. I hate to be a dick, just kidding, but I think that this was just plain poorly made. I don't like the script on its own, but the way that it's executed doesn't do it any favors. I mean, the action just looks like crap, the whole film is quite choppy, it's very tonally imbalanced, and you know, we see this often with a lot of delayed movies. There could be some corrupt editing at work here, but the main problem is that this movie is supposed to be a dark comedy, and when you have a dark comedy, you're supposed to be able to explore dark subject matter with a comedic edge, and a lot of the set pieces in this film are set up in a humorous way, but then executed so brutally that it just feels like it's at odds with the intentions of the screenplay. Ultimately, that makes for a very uneven experience, and really what I would say this movie does have going for it, besides Betty Gilpin, is that by the end of the film, it does have an interesting topic to discuss in terms of how do we treat each other on the internet, and how should we be treated for that? But the problem is, when you have a movie to make, you spend the movie exploring the subject matter. You don't tack it on at the end to pretend that your movie has substance. The Hunt fails on almost every storytelling level, and even if you just want deplorables versus snowflakes, this one doesn't cut it. I'm gonna give The Hunt a 2 out of 5. I would say that it's watchable, but I wouldn't recommend it. You certainly don't need to go risk getting COVID-19 for it. Unfortunately, this movie should be playing it down the middle, but it ends up throwing a whole lot of the extremes from both sides that it just kind of takes away from what I think anyone could enjoy from this movie. But what did you think of The Hunt? If you saw it, feel free to let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one. I just didn't think it was entertaining enough, which was a real bummer. But I do have to say, it was nice to see Betty Gilpin just like run a movie. Like, I would probably watch it again just for her, but otherwise, nah. Now, what I do have to say is, obviously, you guys know plenty enough already of what's going on in the world right now. And this weekend, we see the last new wide releases coming to theaters until May. And I mean, who knows what's going to happen there? Who knows if movie theaters are going to be staying open soon? We don't know what's gonna happen. It's all crazy. It's all up in the air. So I just want to hear from you guys. Let me know what you want to see on this channel. Right now I'm planning on doing more deep dive videos and lists and streaming content, but let me know what you want to see. I'd love to hear your ideas because I might just end up quarantined for the rest of my life. So I'm gonna need some good ideas to put on this channel. So thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I greatly appreciate it. Feel free to like, share it with your friends. Subscribe to Watch This Now if you haven't already. That way you catch all these future videos that are gonna be so great. They're gonna be so great. You just wait. You just wait. Thanks again for watching. I greatly appreciate it. That's all for this video, but I'm not gonna stop you from watching another.